Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Chaf Hey Amud Beis, 25b of Maseches Megillah, and we are starting the new parak, the new chapter at the very bottom of the page. The Mishnah begins as follows: B'nei ha'ir shemachru rechova shalir. This chapter deals with many of the halachos, the laws relating to shuls, beis knesses. So the Mishnah says, if you have B'nei ha'ir, the people of the city, and they sell rechova shalir, the street, or it seems that it's a gathering place, the town square. So this opinion holds that there's some holiness, we'll see why, to the town square, and lokchem b'damav beis haknesses. Now you can't use money that was sold, that was acquired by selling something holy for something less holy. You have to be malan b'kedusha. You have to elevate it in its holiness, or at least equal or higher. So if you sell the town square, which has some holiness, you need to buy something that's at least as holy or more, so you can buy with the money a beis haknesses, a shul. Beis haknesses, if you sell a shul, lokchem teva, you can use the money to buy a teva, an aron kodesh, a holder for the Sifrei Torah. Teva, if you sell an aron kodesh, lokchem matbechos, you can buy the coverings of the Torahs, or coverings seemingly of if you have scrolls of Navi, of the prophets, you can use that also. You can buy matbechos, the coverings of Sifrei Kodesh, of holy books. Matbechos, if you sell the covers of the Svarim, of the Torah scrolls or Nevi'im, lokchin Svarim, then you can buy the actual scrolls, the actual books. You can buy Sifrei Torah, you can buy Sifrei Nevi'im. Svarim, if you sell these scrolls, you sell Sifrei Torah or Sifrei Nevi'im, lokchin, Svarim was only referring to Nevi'im and Kesuvim. You can buy, so again, going back, if you sell the coverings, you can buy Svarim of Sifrei Nevi'im and Kesuvim, the prophets and the writings. And if you sell those Svarim, lokchin Torah, you can buy a Sefer Torah. Fine, so that's all going in the upwards direction. Now going in the downwards direction, the Mishnah says, Aval im machru Torah, but if you sell a Torah, which is the highest in holiness, lo yikchu Svarim, you can't buy Sifrei Nevi'im or Kesuvim with that, prophets or writings. You can only go up, not down. So you have to use the money to buy another Sefer Torah. Svarim, if you sell Svarim of Nevi'im and Kesuvim, lo yikchu matbechos, you can't buy coverings. You have to go either equal or up. Matbechos lo yikchu teva, if you sell the coverings of the Sifrei Torah or the Nevi'im, you cannot buy an aron kodesh. Teva, if you sell an aron kodesh, lo yikchu beis haknesses, you can't buy a shul. Beis haknesses, if you sell a shul, lo yikchu es harechov, you can't buy the square, town square. V'chein b'mosrein, that's even true for extra leftover money. In other words, let's say you sold your Svarim, you had many Sifrei Nevi'im, and you sold them, and you used the money to buy a Sefer Torah, which is going up, great. But now, let's say there's some leftover money. So you don't say, oh, that's leftover money, you can use it for whatever you want. Even for the leftover money, you need to buy something equal or holier. Okay, says the Gemara, B'nei ha'ir shemachru rechova shalir. If you have the people of the town and they sold the town square, so Amar Rabba bar Rechan Amar Yochanan. So the Mishnah had said that you cannot buy something of less holiness. You have to now buy something of more holiness. So Amar Rabba bar Rechan Amar Yochanan zu divrei Rabbi Menachem bar Yossi stumta. That's the opinion of Rabbi Menachem bar Yossi. I guess stumta. Explicitly or on his own, really, his own opinion. Aval Chachamim Omer, the Chachamim say, Harechov ein bo mishum kedusha. The Rechov, the town square, has no kedusha, there's no holiness, there's no rules. You sell it, you can buy whatever you want. For Menachem bar Yossi, my time, what's the reason? Why would the town square have any holiness? Why does Menachem bar Yossi say that there is holiness and you have to go up? However, mispalim bo b'tainios uv'mamados, because the nation gathers there to daven on tainios, on fast days, and on the mamados. So let's start with the fast days. So fast days. So the Gemara or the Mishnah in Tainios teaches us. Mishnah in Tainus teaches us a series of fasts and activities that one would do if there was no rain, and as the drought continues, it builds up and you do more and more. And at one point, it says that if you fasted, you did whatever, and then you still haven't been answered, you still haven't seen rain, so you bring out the Aron Kodesh to the street, to the town square, and there's a davening that's done in the town square. So says Rabbi Nachman Bar Yossi, so the town square has kedusha and it has holiness, and you can't just sell it for anything. He mentioned that, and the Gemara also mentions the ma'amados. What are the ma'amados? The ma'amados are a rotation of people assigned to fast and read the Torah and daven, corresponding to the mishmaros, the rotation of the kahuna, of the kohanim who would bring the karbanos. So basically you had a rotation of families of kohanim responsible for bringing the karbanos, and corresponding to them there were people who were responsible for kind of davening and again another series of things described over there in Maseches Tainus that they were responsible for. But one of them is, the Mishnah says, they would gather in the cities and they would read from the Torah, etc. So where would they gather? So this Gemara is implying they would gather in the town square. There are those who actually don't have the word ma'amados in their girsa, because there's a problem. Because the Gemara says in Tainus that they would gather in the shuls, in the Beis Knesses. So in order to reconcile that with our Gemara, Rashi says you have to say that the Beis Knesses, the gathering place we're talking about, is the street, is the town square. So that's what you have to say if you keep this girsa, you keep this version, that the ma'amados would gather in the town square, and therefore they have holiness. The Rabbanan would say, no, it doesn't have holiness for that. Their response is, Ahu akroi ba'alma. That was just happenstance, meaning or not just happenstance, but it was just incidental. It was temporary. It didn't instill that place with kedusha, because they would sometimes make a minyan there, right? They make a minyan at the rest stop on the turnpike. It doesn't instill it with kedusha. So the Rabbanan say a similar thing here. It's not just the town square. It's true there were times where it was appropriate to gather in public outside, but that didn't give a kedusha, and therefore, if you sell the town square, I don't know how that works exactly, you sell the town square, but if you sell the town square, it doesn't have the money doesn't have special kedusha, that it could only be used for going up and not down. It could be used for whatever. Okay. Now the Mishnah continuing, it said, Beis HaKnesses lo k'chen teva. If you sell the shul, you have to buy an Aron Kodesh. Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar Rabbi Yonasan. Shmuel bar Nachmani is saying the name of Rabbi Yonasan. Lo shana al Beis HaKnesses shal kfarim. That which we discuss here, the possibility of selling a shul, is only in a village. That's only a shul that's in a village. Abal Beis HaKnesses shal krachin. But a shul in a larger city, where people come from all over and daven there, kiman demei alma asu, since people come from all over, asule lo matzu mezavnile, you can't sell it. Dahavale derabim, because it belongs to the public. It belongs to the public. Now we'll see later in the next time a little bit more detail about selling shuls, but this statement of Rabbi Yonasan says that a shul that belongs to the public you can't sell. Who's going to sell it? It belongs to everybody. Tosfos here explains that that even though people didn't necessarily contribute to the building of this shul, but still, it's assumed if it's in a popular city, where people come, that it was built for everyone. Whoever built it for everyone, and that gives everybody. That actually, the way Tosfos says it is, it elevates its kedusha, that it can't be sold. It elevates its holiness, and you can't sell it. Furthermore, he suggests that many people do contribute to its building and its upkeep. And maybe the guests didn't build it, but they contribute to its upkeep. That gives them a portion in it. And since this is a public shul for everybody, it can't be sold. Amar Rav Ashi. Now Rav Ashi says, "Hai be'kanista de Masa Machasya," but the shul in Masa Machasya, even though people gather from all over, kivan da'adaita didika asu, but since they enter with my permission, iba'ina mizavnina. If I want, I could sell it. So Rav Ashi says that, and maybe this comes back to the idea that if it's built for everybody, then it belongs to everybody. If it's built for me, I build it for me, or for my group, and I just allow others to use it with our permission, so then it belongs to us, it belongs to me, and it can be sold. That's what Rav Ashi said. Okay. Meisvei. Now we ask a contradiction from a brisa on this idea that a shul in a city can't be sold, like Rabbi Shul Bar Nachmani saying in Rabbi Yonasan that in a city you can't sell the shul because it belongs to everybody. We have a contradiction from a brisa. Says the brisa, Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said, Ma'aseh bebeis haKnesses shel Torsiim shehaya b'Yerushalayim. It happened with the shul of the Torsiim. The Torsiim are the Rashi says Torfei Nechoshes, the coppersmiths. So they had, I guess, these different shuls for different fields, for different trade unions. Not trade unions, but clubs, and they had their own shul. And it happened shemachru Rabbi Eliezer. They sold it to Rabbi Eliezer b'asav kol tzrachav, and he did as he wanted with it. So, in other words, it was really sold to him. So, v'hasam dikrachim, but that was in a large city. It was in Yerushalayim. So how could they sell it? We said that in a large city you can't sell a shul. Says the Gemara, Hahi bekanista zuti hava vino avdua. Now that was a small shul that they made for themselves, for their own purposes, kind of similar to Rav Ashi. That since they made it, they may let other people daven there, but they make it for themselves, therefore they are the owners and they're allowed to sell it. Meisvei. Now we have another contradiction from a brisa. Pasuk says, "Beveis eretz achuzaschem." So this is a pasuk with regards to tzaras, which occurs on a house. The pasuk says in Parashas Mitzorah, it says, "When you come to the land of Canaan, that I give you as an inheritance, and I will place I place a nega tzaras, a tzaras blemish, beveis eretz achuzaschem, in a house in the land of your inheritance." So the Gemara, the Brisa learns from that pasuk, achuzaschem b'tamei b'negayim, something that is your inheritance can become tamei with negayim, with tzaras. Ve'ein Yerushalayim b'tamei b'negayim, but Yerushalayim cannot become tamei with tzaras. Houses in Yerushalayim cannot become tamei with tzaras. That is the Tanakama. This first opinion holds that, as we will discuss shortly, that Yerushalayim belonged to all and none of the Shvatim. It was not giving over to any specific Shvatim, any specific tribes, and therefore it's not an achuza, it's not an inheritance of any Shvatim, and therefore there can't be tzaras. It's not beveis eretz achuzastem. It's not a house in the land of your inheritance, because Yerushalayim is not the inheritance of anybody. That's the first opinion of the Brisa. Amar Rabbi Yehuda responded, Ani lo shamati ala makom mikdash bilvad. I only heard that the place of the Beis HaMikdash is not an achuzah, does not belong to anybody, but the rest of Yerushalayim could. In other words, Rabbi Yehuda argues and says, no, it was divided to the Shvatim, it is an achuzah, it is an inheritance. It's only the Beis HaMikdash that's not, can't get tzaras, and it's not because it's not an inheritance, as we'll see, the Beis HaMikdash, according to this opinion that Yerushalayim was divided amongst the Shvatim, so was the Beis HaMikdash, but the Beis HaMikdash is excluded for a different reason, because it says, Uba asher lo habayis, and the one who the house belongs to comes, and this house doesn't belong to anybody. It's the land is divided to the Shvatim, but the house doesn't belong to anybody. The house belongs to Hashem. It's a Bayis Shel Kodesh, the holy house. So ask the Gemara, now the implication is that the Beis HaMikdash, Rabbi Yehuda is saying, doesn't become Tameh b'Negayim, can't get tzaras because it doesn't belong to anybody. But the shuls, it sounds like, could get tzaras. They do belong to somebody. So how does that fit? We just said that the shuls in a large city don't belong to anybody because everybody uses them. This is at least what the questioner held. So why would they become tameh with tzaras? How could they become tameh with tzaras? Ha-dekrachin havu. If it's in Yerushalayim, that's a big city, and it shouldn't belong to anybody. It shouldn't be able to get tzaras. So the Gemara accepts this, and it says, Ema, we could read it, Amar Rabbi Yehuda said, Ani lo shamati el makom mekudash bilvad. I only heard that holy places, not makom mikdash, not the Beis HaMikdash, but all holy places can't get tzaras. Okay, so again, the Tanna Kama, the first opinion said that nowhere in Yerushalayim could get tzaras, and Rabbi Yehuda said that the Beis HaMikdash can't get tzaras, and then we actually adjusted him to say no shul could get tzaras because the shuls don't belong to anybody in a large city like Yerushalayim. So what's the machlokas here about whether the houses of Yerushalayim can get tzaras? Tanna Kama Samar, the first opinion holds lo nechloka Yerushalayim l'shvatim. The Tanna Kama, the first opinion holds that Yerushalayim was not divided up to the shvatim, to the tribes, and therefore it's not the inheritance of anybody. It's not a beis eretz achuzastem. A house in Yerushalayim is not a house in the land of your inheritance. Rabbi Yehuda Savar, and Rabbi Yehuda holds nischalka Yerushalayim l'shvatim, that Yerushalayim was divided to the shvatim, and therefore the houses are houses of inheritance, and they could get tzaras. Uveplukta dehani tanai, and it's the same machlok is the same dispute as the following Tanaim. Ditanya, because we're learning a Brisa, Ma haya bechalko shel Yehuda. What part of Yerushalayim was in the portion of Yehuda? So, Harabayas, the Temple Mount, Halishkos. The Lishkos were like the different rooms, the storage rooms, and other gathering rooms that were part of the Beis HaMikdash. Viha Azaros, and the Azaros, the courtyards. So, actually, I have a map of the Beis HaMikdash. So the Beis HaMikdash is made up. This is the east of the Beis HaMikdash. You enter from the east going west, and this is the west. So Yehuda. So basically, the Beis HaMikdash was, as we'll see in a moment, was divided between the tribe of Yehuda and Binyamin. And Yehuda, this Brisa says, had the Azaros, the courtyards. These are the courtyards leading up to the Beis HaMikdash. This is the building of the Beis HaMikdash, where this is what's called the Ulam. The Ulam is when you see the picture of the Beis HaMikdash, that very tall part. It's the entrance hall of the Beis HaMikdash. And then you have the Heichal, which is like the Kodesh, the holy part, where you have the Menorah and the Shulchan, and the Mizbeach HaKatoris, the Katoris Mizbeach, and this is the Kodesh HaKadashim, all the way in the west. So entering from east to west, this was still the portion of Yehuda, the Azaros, the courtyards, and the Lishkos, all these different rooms that were used for various things. And all the way up to the Mizbeach, belonged to Yehuda. Now, the Brisa continues and it says, Umahaya b'chalko shel Binyamin, and what was in the portion of Binyamin? Ulam v'heichal beis Kodshei HaKadashim. The Ulam, the entry hall to the building of the holiest part of the Beis HaMikdash, and the Heichal, and the holy, the Kodesh, and the Kodesh HaKadashim, the Holy of Holies. Now, what about in between, right? We said Yehuda comes up to the Mizbeach, and this part, the Beis HaMikdash building itself, was in the portion of Binyamin. But what about in between? What about the Mizbeach itself and the space in between the Mizbeach and the Heichal and the Ulam, the entrance to the Beis HaMikdash building? So now the Brisa continues and it says, Uritzua haisa yotzes mechalko shel Yehuda v'nechneses b'chalko shel Binyamin. There was a thin strip coming out of the portion of Yehuda that went into the portion of Binyamin. Uba mizbeach banoi, and there the mizbeach was built. In other words, actually everything from the mizbeach onwards was really in the portion of Binyamin, except that Yehuda had a strip, a thin strip that stuck out, which was right at the edge of the Mizbeach. And in fact, the Mizbeach had what's called a yesod, like a thing sticking out, like the foundation that stuck out at the bottom, but it only had that to the north. This is actually north. Down in this case is north. And it had a part of the yesod, part of that foundation, also in the west. But in the east, where the portion of Yehuda was, it didn't have it. And also, even in the south of the Mizbeach, which is where the ramp was, there was no yesod, and didn't have that part sticking out. And that part, that like 1 amma, I think it was, of space is what is the strip right next to the Mizbeach that belonged to Yehuda. Now why they had that portion is a fair question, but they had that little strip coming out. And it says, fine. Now Binyamin, the person, Binyamin himself, who saw with Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration, that the Beis HaMikdash will be in his portion, at least the main part of it, the Mizbeach and all the holy vessels, the Kodesh HaKadashim. But he saw with Ruach HaKodesh, the divine inspiration, that he would have that one strip that belonged to Yehuda, and this pained him. He was troubled every day that he wanted his tribe to be able, his descendants to be able to consume that part. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, as part of the blessing that Moshe gives the tribe of Binyamin, it says, Chofeif alav kol hayom. He either covered it all day, or Rashi says he would rub himself all day about it. He was bothering it agitating him that he didn't have this portion. And because he was agitated, and therefore Binyamin merited to be the host of the Shechina, to have the Aron HaKodesh, the Kodesh HaKadashim, the Holy Ark, in his portion. Now the problem with that statement is that it seems that he's already, with divine inspiration, seeing that he has everything except for this one strip. So what does that mean? And therefore he merited to have the Shechina in his portion. He anyways apparently was supposed to have it in his portion. So I saw that Ben Yoyada in Maseches Yuma says it means in the second Beis HaMikdash. In the first Beis HaMikdash he was supposed to have it. Because he was so concerned and it was so important to him that the Beis HaMikdash being his portion, so he merited it even in the second Beis HaMikdash, which it could have changed, it could have been different. He merited that the Shechina was still in his portion, and as well it will be in the third Beis HaMikdash, the Ben Yoyada says. Fine. So that's the first time. Now this Brisa clearly holds that the Beis HaMikdash was divided amongst the Shvatim. It's divided amongst Yehuda and Binyamin, and so was the rest of Yerushalayim. V'hai Tana Savar, but the following Tana holds Lo Nischalku Yerushalayim L'Shvatim. Yerushalayim was not divided amongst the tribes. The Tanya, because we're learning a brisa, in Maskirim Batim B'Yerushalayim. You're not allowed to rent out your house in Yerushalayim. When people come up for the regel, or any other time, I guess, for the Shalosh Regalim, you have to let the people stay there for free. You can't charge them. Because they don't belong to the people of Yerushalayim. They don't actually own their property. It wasn't divided amongst the Shvatim. Rabbi Eliezer Bar Tzadok Omer, Af Ulo Mitos. They don't even own the beds. So I guess you could have thought that you can't charge for the room, but you could charge for the furniture. But continues the brisa. It says, Lefikach oros kachim bal yishpischa notlan asam bizroa. Therefore, when the people would come up to Yerushalayim to bring karbanos, and they would bring their shlamim karban, and from the shlamim karban, the owner got to keep the skins. The hosts who were not charging for people to stay there, who couldn't charge, they would be by force be able to keep the skins. Tosfos says because they provided other benefits to the people staying there, besides for a bed and a piece of property to stay in, but there were other benefits that, towels or whatever, other things that a host provides, water. So they were able to charge for that, or demand payment and force payment of the skins of the karbanos by force. Amar Abaye says, Shma Mina, we can learn from here, Orach Ara, L'mishpak inish gulfa umashcha bushtripize. It's derech eretz. It's proper for a guest who's not paying to stay somewhere to leave his gulfa umashcha, his jug, and the skins. If he's shechtering an animal, if he's slaughtering an animal, he should leave the skin for the owner. Meaning he should leave. It seems like almost like a host gift. He should leave something for the host if he's staying there for free. We see that from this that in this case in the brisa it sounds like the host was able to force the guest to leave him something, to leave his skins. Babai is saying, I guess that implies that it's really proper. Derech eretz, it's proper that the guest leave some kind of payment. He got to stay there for free, but he should leave some kind of payment in the way of the earthenware jug that he uses, or the skins from animals that he slaughtered. Okay, next time we'll continue discussing the selling of shuls. Actually, just to recap though how we got here, so this was all a tangential from the question about whether you can sell a shul in Yerushalayim, and because Rabbi Yehuda had said that I only heard that you can't sell a shul in that I only heard that the Beis Hamikdash can't get saras, but it sounded like the shuls could, implying that the shuls belong to everybody. Implying that the shuls do not belong to everybody, that they have individual owners, and to that we reworked the brisa to say no. Rabbi Yehuda was saying that any makom mekudash, any holy place, can't get saras because the shuls belong to everybody, and from that we went on to discuss what was the whole question about housing Yerushalayim in the first place, in the dispute between Rabbi Yehuda and the Tanna Kama. Okay, Meretz Hashem, we'll pick up from Amar Rava next time.